During the mating ceremony, I fell asleep on the Apache's strong shoulders, shocking the entire tribe. The twin sons of the frontier planet had barely risen when Cole drove his rugged hoverbike along the dusty canyon trail. The air smelled faintly of scorched metal and desert sage, carrying a tension that was both new and familiar to him. For years, he had roamed the outer rim of human settlements, chasing contracts, hunting rogue miners, and mapping hidden trade routes. But this mission was different. He was heading toward the Apache-descended interstellar tribe, a group as mysterious as the stars themselves, known for their strict traditions and unmatched skill in both survival and advanced technology. Cole's heart beat faster with a mix of excitement and caution. He had been warned about the mating ceremony, a sacred tribal ritual that took place only once every few cycles. The humans of the frontier had little understanding of it, but every trader knew the importance of showing respect and avoiding mistakes. One wrong move could make him unwelcome, or worse, seen as an intruder. The canyon opened into a vast plain where the tribe's settlement lay. It was a marvel of old and new. Teepees reinforced with light alloy frames, holographic totems casting faint glows in the morning light, and horses equipped with anti-gravity saddles roaming freely. The scene struck Cole with awe. He had read about such settlements, but seeing it in person made him feel both small and oddly exhilarated. He slowed his hover bike as he approached the edge of the ceremonial grounds. Already the tribe was assembling. The warriors were dressed in ceremonial armor, a blend of traditional leather and sleek, metallic plates that shimmered in the sun. They moved with silent grace, their faces painted with patterns that told stories of ancestors and victories. In the center, a massive bonfire crackled, smoke curling into the morning sky. Cole dismounted carefully, feeling the weight of all eyes upon him. A few elders noticed him immediately and raised their hands in subtle acknowledgement. He returned the gesture, trying to appear respectful yet relaxed. But despite his best efforts, he felt out of place. The humans had no role here. This was not a trade negotiation. This was a sacred moment, and he was an outsider. As he stepped closer, trying to find a safe spot to observe, the ground trembled slightly under the approach of the tribal warriors. One of them, tall and broad-shouldered, caught Cole's gaze. There was a quiet intensity in the warrior's dark eyes that made Cole pause. He recognized the figure as a leader in the ceremonial hierarchy. A sense of caution washed over him, but curiosity pushed him forward. Hours of travel and lack of sleep caught up with Cole. His eyelids felt heavy, and the desert sun only seemed to make his exhaustion worse. He found himself moving slowly, drawn to the shade under a massive curved rock near the edge of the ceremony. The warrior, seemingly unconcerned, had shifted slightly, standing nearby but not interrupting Cole's path. Cole's body sagged with fatigue, and before he could think, he leaned on the warrior's shoulder for support. The touch was accidental, a natural gesture born of weariness, but it sent a ripple through the gathering. Cole's eyes closed. The warmth and strength of the warrior's shoulder were comforting in a way he hadn't expected. Moments later, he was fast asleep, oblivious to the world around him. A collective gasp swept through the tribe. The elders exchanged glances, whispering among themselves. The mating ceremony was a moment of precision and respect, and no outsider had ever dared, or accidentally managed, to intrude in such a way. Some tribe members stepped back in shock, unsure whether this was a sign, a mistake, or an omen. Others looked on in silent amusement, noting the human's vulnerability and the unexpected trust he displayed by leaning on one of their strongest warriors. The warrior remained still, though a faint smirk played at the corner of his mouth. He could feel the tension in the air, but he also sensed something different in the human, a raw honesty that few outsiders possessed. For now, he decided to let the cowboy rest. To wake him abruptly could escalate tensions, and besides, the act itself, though shocking, carried an unusual honesty. Cole's dreams were fragmented and restless. He saw visions of stars and desert canyons blending together, of holographic totems reaching toward alien moons. He dreamed of the warrior's steady hands guiding him, of the tribe's eyes filled with curiosity and caution. Somewhere in his subconscious he knew this was no ordinary encounter. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the ceremonial grounds. The tribe began their rituals, chanting in melodic tones that resonated across the plain. Warriors danced in intricate patterns, their movements a blend of grace and precision, punctuated by the hum of hovering devices that enhanced the spectacle. Cole remained asleep, unaware of the awe and tension he had caused. Finally, the warrior gently nudged him awake. Cole stirred, blinking against the bright sunlight, confusion and embarrassment washing over him. He realized immediately what he had done. His face flushed as he stepped back, trying to regain composure. I'm sorry, Cole said, voice trembling slightly. I didn't mean to... The warrior raised a hand, stopping him. You are awake now, he said, his voice calm but firm. Resting was necessary, but you must understand the significance of what occurred. Cole nodded, swallowing hard. He looked around at the tribe, seeing the mixture of shock, amusement, and cautious respect. It was clear that the elders were discussing his actions in hushed tones, weighing whether this human could be tolerated or considered an omen. Have shown vulnerability, the warrior continued, and in this you have also shown trust. That is rare among outsiders. Few would allow themselves to lean so openly on another, especially during our sacred rituals. Trust? He asked, incredulous. I was just tired. I didn't mean anything by it. The warrior's eyes softened slightly. Intent is different from perception. What you did has meaning here. You must learn to understand it, or your presence could cause more harm than you realize. Cole nodded again, a mix of awe and apprehension filling him. He had come to learn about trade, alliances, and the ways of this frontier planet, but he realized now that he had stumbled into something far deeper, something tied to culture, respect, and human connection in ways he had never encountered. The rest of the morning passed with Cole observing, asking questions carefully, and following the warrior's silent guidance. He learned small but important things: how to move without disrupting the ceremony, how to show respect without speaking, and how technology and tradition intertwine seamlessly in this world. By mid-afternoon, Cole had gained a small measure of acceptance. The elders had begun to see him not just as a foolish outsider, but as someone who, in his accidental way, had displayed honesty and humility. It was a fragile trust, and he knew that every move he made now would either strengthen it or break it entirely. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue across the canyon and settlement, Cole realized that this accidental act, the brief sleep on the warrior's shoulder, had changed everything. He was no longer just a visitor. He had become part of a story that was unfolding, a story that would test his courage, patience, and understanding in ways he could not yet imagine. The warrior approached him, nodding slightly. Rest well tonight, he said. Tomorrow, your lessons begin. Not just in survival, but in understanding who we are and what we protect. You have been noticed, and that can be both a gift and a challenge. Cole looked at the warrior, his mind filled with questions, excitement, and a growing sense of purpose. The frontier planet, with its deserts, stars, and tribal traditions, had already begun to change him, and he knew that the real journey, the one that would test his courage, his respect, and his very place among these people, was only just beginning. As night fell, Cole camped near the ceremonial grounds, gazing at the twin moons rising over the horizon. He could still hear the faint echoes of chants, the whispers of the elders, and the quiet strength of the warrior who had tolerated his mistake. For the first time in a long while, he felt a strange mix of humility, wonder, and anticipation. Tomorrow, he would have to face the tribe fully awake, fully aware, and fully prepared, and he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The morning air was crisp and still as Cole stirred beneath his small canvas shelter. The twin suns had barely pierced the horizon, casting soft golden light over the Apache-descended tribe's settlement. The chants from yesterday's mating ceremony still echoed faintly in his memory, a rhythmic reminder of how fragile and sacred these traditions were. Cole sat up, rubbing his tired eyes, remembering the moment he had accidentally leaned on the warrior's shoulder and fallen asleep. Embarrassment tingled in his chest, but it was quickly replaced by curiosity. He had been noticed, and in this world, being noticed could open doors, if handled correctly. Cole emerged from his shelter to see the warrior from the ceremony waiting nearby. The giant figure stood tall and calm, his armor gleaming faintly in the morning light, yet there was a softness in his posture that suggested patience rather than authority. Cole approached cautiously, mindful of every step. "You slept well," the warrior said simply. There was no hint of mockery in his voice, only observation. "I think I did," Cole replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I just hope I didn't offend anyone." The warrior shook his head slowly. "Intent matters less than understanding. You have much to learn. Today will be the beginning of that lesson. If you are willing, I will show you the ways of our people, both the old ways and the ways that embrace technology. Yes, I want to learn. I don't want to make another mistake." The warrior gestured for him to follow, and together they walked through the settlement. Children ran past on hoverbikes, laughing as they chased holographic projections of desert creatures. Traders negotiated quietly in the distance, their voices low but firm. Cole realized that life here was a delicate balance, part tradition, part innovation, and he was stepping into a world that required respect at every turn. First, the warrior said, you must learn observation. Watch before acting, understand before touching. The smallest misstep can change perception completely. Cole studied the surroundings. He noticed how the elders moved with purpose, how the warriors communicated with subtle gestures, and how the settlers integrated technology into daily life without disturbing tradition. Each detail mattered. He realized how little he had understood when he first arrived, relying on assumptions rather than attention. Their path led them to the ceremonial grounds, now quiet except for the faint crackle of the previous day's bonfire. The warrior stopped and pointed to the etched stones surrounding the fire pit. These stones mark the cycle of life, alliances, and unity, he explained. They are older than any of us, yet we honor them because they remind us of what we protect. The mating ceremony is more than ritual. It is a declaration of respect, trust, and connection. You must understand this before you are allowed to participate. Cole nodded, absorbing each word. I understand. I'll do my best. The warrior's eyes softened slightly. Your best will be tested soon. But first, you must learn the ways of our people. The way we hunt, the way we ride, and the way we protect. The day unfolded with lessons that challenged Cole in every sense. The warrior led him to a nearby canyon where they practiced horseback riding, but these were not ordinary horses. They were genetically enhanced with low-gravity adaptations, capable of leaping vast distances. Cole had ridden before, but never on creatures that could almost fly. At first he struggled. His hands shook as he gripped the reins, trying to control the horse while maintaining balance over rough terrain. The warrior guided him with firm yet gentle corrections. Relax your grip. Trust the animal. Trust yourself. By noon, Cole could move smoothly, anticipating each jump, each turn, and each landing. The warrior nodded approvingly, a rare smile flashing across his face. Cole felt a surge of pride, not just for mastering the ride, but for earning a small measure of trust. Next came the lessons in hunting. The warrior led him to a grove where robotic prey simulated the movements of desert creatures. Cole had to track, aim, and capture the targets using a combination of traditional archery and advanced scanning tech. Each misstep was observed, corrected, and explained. You cannot rush, the warrior said, watching Cole fumble with the scanning device. Precision comes from patience, focus, and understanding your surroundings. Technology helps, but it cannot replace awareness. Hours passed and Cole's skills improved. By late afternoon, he managed to capture several robotic prey in a single attempt. He was exhausted but exhilarated, feeling a connection to the land, the tribe, and the lessons that were shaping him. The warrior guided him back to the settlement as the twin suns began to dip toward the horizon. They stopped near the edge of the ceremonial grounds, where a group of elders had gathered. Their eyes were fixed on Cole, and he felt their scrutiny like a weight pressing down on his shoulders. One elder stepped forward, his expression unreadable. You have observed, human, he said, but observation alone is not enough. Tomorrow, you will be tested. Your understanding, respect, and humility will be judged. If you fail, the consequences may not be yours alone. Cole swallowed hard.
The warning was clear, but he nodded.
I understand. I'll do everything I can to earn your respect. The warrior placed a hand on his shoulder. Do not fear failure. Fear only prevents learning. Remember, trust is earned, not demanded. That night, Cole could not sleep easily. He thought about the accidental moment from the previous day, the nap on the warrior's shoulder that had shocked the entire tribe. At first he had feared it would mark him forever as an outsider or a fool, but now he realized it had opened a door. The warrior's guidance, the elders' attention, and the tribe's cautious respect all pointed to a chance, not just to survive among them, but to belong in some way. Sleep finally came in short, fitful bursts, filled with dreams of horseback races over alien canyons, of glowing stones marking the sacred cycles of life, and of the warrior's steady presence beside him. He dreamed of the tribe's children, of their laughter and curiosity, and of a world where human and Apache-descended cultures could coexist and even thrive together. Morning came with a chill in the air, and Cole was awakened by the soft hum of hovering devices around the settlement. The warrior was already up, waiting. Today, your test begins, he said simply. Cole felt a rush of nerves. The previous day had been lessons and observation, but today was judgment. He followed the warrior to a clearing where a ceremonial trial had been prepared. The elders stood in a semicircle, silent but watchful, while tribal youth moved quietly around the edges, curious and cautious. The trial will measure your respect, courage, and understanding, the warrior explained. It is not only physical, it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. You will face challenges that test your heart as much as your skill. The first trial was a combination of horseback maneuvering and technological coordination. Cole had to ride across rough terrain while guiding a hovering device to trace patterns in the air that symbolized tribal stories. One misstep and the pattern would break, signaling failure. Cole's hands trembled at first, but he remembered the warrior's words. Trust himself, trust the horse, trust the lesson. Step by step, jump by jump, pattern by pattern, he advanced. By the end of the first trial, he had earned subtle nods of approval from both the warrior and the elders. The next trial involved archery against moving robotic prey, integrating both traditional aim and scanning technology. Cole's confidence grew with each successful hit, though his exhaustion was deepening. Finally, the last trial tested humility and understanding. The elders instructed him to participate in a ritual sequence that mimicked aspects of the mating ceremony, requiring him to follow exact steps, movements, and timing. Every gesture mattered. Cole focused, remembering how he had accidentally leaned on the warrior's shoulder yesterday, and he moved carefully, step by step. When the sequence ended, silence fell. The elders exchanged glances, then one spoke. You have not only observed but learned. You have shown respect, humility, and courage. You are still an outsider, human, but you have begun to understand the ways of our people. Cole felt relief wash over him. He had passed, not perfectly, but enough to earn cautious acceptance. The warrior clapped him on the shoulder, a small but powerful gesture of approval. As the twin suns set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Cole realized that he had taken the first real step toward belonging. He had been shocked, humbled, and challenged, but he had also grown. The journey was far from over, and tomorrow would bring new lessons, new trials, and perhaps deeper connections with the tribe he was slowly becoming a part of. For now, he allowed himself a quiet moment of pride. He was awake, aware, and alive to the possibilities that awaited him in this strange, beautiful frontier world. The next morning, Cole awoke to the low hum of the settlement coming alive. The twin suns barely peeked over the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert plains. Today was not for observation or simple lessons. Today was the ceremonial trial, the test that would determine whether he could truly begin to earn the tribe's respect. His stomach twisted with a mix of nerves and excitement. He had come far, but now the real challenge awaited. The warrior from the previous day was already waiting at the edge of the ceremonial grounds, his tall silhouette calm and imposing. Cole approached, adjusting his worn jacket and dust-covered boots. The warrior gave him a steady look, a silent reminder that the stakes were high. "Are you ready?" the warrior asked. Cole took a deep breath. "I think so. I hope so." The warrior's eyes softened. "Hope is not enough. You must trust your skills, your training, and the lessons you've learned. Today is about more than skill. It is about respect, awareness, and humility." They walked together to a large clearing where the elders had arranged a series of trials. The first was a horseback race through a rugged canyon, a test of speed, agility, and harmony with the desert's low-gravity horses. Cole had practiced yesterday, but the pressure of an audience and the ceremonial importance of the trial made his heart pound. The warriors lined up, ready to guide the participants. Cole's horse snorted and pawed the ground, sensing his nervous energy. He took a deep breath, gripping the reins, and followed the warrior's guidance. The race began with a sharp horn sound. Cole leaned forward, urging his horse into motion. The canyon walls blurred as he guided the animal through narrow passages and over rocky outcrops. At one point, a sudden drop appeared ahead. His horse hesitated, but Cole whispered words of encouragement, remembering the lessons about trust. With a powerful leap, they cleared the gap, landing safely on the other side. The tribe watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Cole felt sweat trickle down his face, his hands gripping the reins tightly, but with each maneuver he grew more confident, more connected to the horse and the terrain. By the time they crossed the finish line, Cole was exhausted but exhilarated. A faint nod from the warrior acknowledged his success. Next came the marksmanship trial. The elders had set up moving targets that mimicked desert predators, both mechanical and holographic. Cole had to use a combination of traditional bow skills and advanced scanning technology to hit the targets. It was a test of precision, timing, and focus. The targets moved unpredictably, darting across the sand and rock. Cole aimed carefully, adjusting for distance, wind, and the unpredictable movement of the prey. The first few shots missed. His hands shook, and frustration rose, but he remembered the warrior's words. Patience and awareness were more important than speed. He focused, taking one deep breath after another. His next shots hit the mark, bullseye after bullseye. The elders murmured among themselves, noting his growing skill and composure. By the end of the trial, Cole had successfully completed the task, earning quiet approval from the tribe. He felt a surge of pride, but reminded himself that the day was far from over. The final trial was the most important, a ritual sequence modeled after aspects of the mating ceremony. It required Cole to follow exact steps, movements, and gestures, blending physical precision with cultural understanding. Every motion carried meaning, every pause signaled respect or disrespect. One wrong step could undermine everything he had accomplished. Cole stepped into the ceremonial circle, aware of the tribe's eyes upon him. The warrior stood nearby, silently guiding and observing. Cole moved carefully, tracing patterns in the sand, bowing at the correct moments and executing the intricate hand gestures he had observed yesterday. The rhythm of the ritual was unlike anything he had experienced, part dance, part prayer, part declaration of trust. Halfway through the sequence, fatigue and tension caught up with him. His legs trembled and he misjudged a step, almost stumbling into the warrior. In a reflexive moment, he leaned lightly on the warrior's shoulder for support. Time seemed to slow. Cole froze, fearing another wave of disapproval, perhaps even anger, but the warrior did not react with annoyance. Instead, he adjusted his stance to support Cole subtly, allowing the movement to pass without disruption. The tribe watched, some whispering in surprise, others nodding in quiet approval. This unintentional gesture echoed the moment from the previous day, but now it carried new meaning. Vulnerability paired with trust, courage paired with humility. Cole regained his balance and completed the ritual sequence. The elders studied him intently, their expressions unreadable. Silence fell over the ceremonial grounds, broken only by the soft whisper of desert winds. Cole's chest heaved with exertion, his mind racing with the hope that he had not failed. Finally, one elder stepped forward. His voice was calm but carried authority. "You have completed the trials," he said. "Your actions show respect, humility, and courage. You are still an outsider, but you have begun to understand the ways of our people. Your place among us is not yet permanent, but you have earned our cautious trust." The children smiled, some clapping quietly. The warriors nodded, acknowledging Cole's effort. Even the rival faction, which had been skeptical of human involvement, seemed to consider his actions with a new perspective. Cole felt a wave of relief and gratitude. He had feared failure, but instead he had taken steps toward acceptance. The warrior clapped him firmly on the shoulder, a simple gesture that carried immense meaning. "You have done well," the warrior said, "but remember, this is only the beginning. Understanding our ways takes time. Respect is not a single act, but a lifetime of choices." Cole nodded, absorbing the weight of the words. He realized that the trials had tested more than his skill. They had tested his patience, humility, and ability to trust others. In a strange way, leaning on the warrior's shoulder, both by accident and necessity, had become a symbol of his journey. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with fiery oranges and soft purples, Cole walked with the warrior to the edge of the settlement. The desert stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of both the challenges and the possibilities that lay ahead. "You have faced the trials and shown growth," the warrior said. "Tomorrow you will begin the deeper lessons, how to protect, how to live, and how to honor both our traditions and your own. The tribe will watch closely, but if you continue to act with respect and awareness, you may find your place among us." Cole glanced at the distant horizon, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had entered the tribe as a stranger, clumsy and unaware. Now, he had gained a small measure of respect and a glimpse into a culture that blended the strength of the past with the innovations of the future. He understood that acceptance was a process, not a gift, and that every action from this point forward would carry meaning. That night, Cole camped near the ceremonial grounds once more. He reflected on the day's events, thinking about the horseback race, the marksmanship trial, and the ritual sequence. He remembered the fleeting moment of vulnerability when he leaned on the warrior's shoulder, realizing it had become a bridge of trust rather than a mark of shame. Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of desert canyons, glowing stones, and the eyes of the tribe, watchful, critical, but slowly warming to his presence. He dreamed of the warrior standing beside him, a guide and protector, and of the children laughing as they played among holographic projections. Cole awoke to the gentle light of dawn, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He had survived the ceremonial trials, earned cautious respect, and learned that belonging required effort, humility, and openness. The frontier world was harsh, but it was also full of opportunity, for growth, for understanding, and for forging bonds that could transcend species and culture. As he prepared for the day ahead, Cole knew that the next chapter would challenge him even further. The mating ceremony had opened the door, but now he had to step fully into the life of the tribe, learning not only their skills but their values, their stories, and their ways of seeing the world. He felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation, ready to face the lessons that awaited him. For Cole, the frontier had become more than a place to roam or a mission to complete. It had become a crucible, shaping him, testing him, and offering the possibility of connection in ways he had never imagined. And though the journey was far from over, he knew one thing clearly. He was no longer just an outsider. He had begun to belong. The morning sun broke over the desert horizon, painting the settlement in golden pink. Cole woke with a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy. Today was the culmination of everything, the mating ceremony and his chance to fully demonstrate respect and understanding. He had passed the preliminary trials, learned the ways of the tribe, and begun to earn cautious trust. Now it was time to show that he truly belonged, at least in part, among the Apache-descended people of this frontier world. The warrior who had guided him from the very beginning stood silently nearby, observing Cole with the same calm intensity that had kept him focused through the trials. "Today, you will participate fully," the warrior said. "Remember what you have learned. Every step matters. Every gesture has meaning. And above all, trust yourself." Cole nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. The stakes felt higher than ever. He knew that one mistake could undo everything, but he also felt a strange confidence, a belief in his own ability to act with respect, humility, and awareness. The ceremonial grounds were already alive with activity. Elders arranged the stones and totems, placing them in precise patterns that marked cycles of life, trust, and union. Warriors moved silently, their ceremonial armor glinting in the twin suns. Children watched curiously from the edges, some whispering, some daring to mimic gestures in playful imitation. Cole felt the weight of all eyes upon him, and yet he felt a sense of belonging he had never expected. The ceremony began with a series of ritual movements that required absolute precision. Cole followed the instructions carefully, tracing the paths in the sand, bowing at the right moments, and lifting his hands in gestures that symbolized trust and connection. The warrior remained close, guiding him subtly but never interfering. Cole felt every motion echo through the ground beneath him, a rhythm that connected him to the tribe and their traditions. As the ceremony continued, Cole's previous moments of vulnerability, the accidental nap on the warrior's shoulder, the brief leaning during yesterday's ritual, resurfaced in his mind. But instead of embarrassment, he felt calm. He realized that those moments had become part of his journey, symbols of trust rather than mistakes. He moved with intention, aware that every action mattered, but confident in the bond he had begun to build. The elders watched closely, their faces still serious but with subtle signs of approval. They whispered among themselves, nodding occasionally, acknowledging the human's growth. Even the skeptics, who had questioned his presence, observed in silence, curiosity softening their judgment. Midway through the ceremony, a group of warriors led Cole through a challenge that combined skill, awareness, and courage. He had to cross a narrow bridge over a canyon, balancing carefully while holding a glowing totem that represented unity and life. The wind gusted unexpectedly, threatening to tip him off balance. Cole steadied himself, recalling the lessons about trust and patience. He leaned lightly against the warrior when necessary, not in weakness, but as a sign of understanding that trust is mutual. The tribe held its collective breath. The gesture, once shocking, now symbolized harmony and learning. Cole crossed the bridge successfully, placing the totem in its designated spot with care. A faint murmur of approval ran through the onlookers. Next came a ceremonial dance, a flowing sequence of steps that represented the cycles of life, the bond between people, and the harmony between humans and the land. Cole moved with the rhythm, matching the tribe's precise movements. His feet stumbled once or twice, but the warrior adjusted his posture subtly, allowing Cole to regain balance without disrupting the flow. Each step, each gesture, carried meaning, and Cole felt connected, not just to the tribe, but to the desert, the stones, and the twin suns above. The final portion of the ceremony was the most significant. The elders instructed Cole to approach the center of the ceremonial circle and participate in a symbolic act representing trust, humility, and acceptance. This involved placing his hands on the central totem, bowing deeply, and acknowledging both the tribe and their traditions. Cole approached slowly, aware of every eye upon him. He remembered the whispers, the stares, the cautious respect he had earned over the past days. Taking a deep breath, he placed his hands on the totem and bowed deeply. His heart raced, but he held the position, feeling a profound connection to the tribe, their ancestors, and the lessons they had imparted. Silence fell over the ceremonial grounds. Cole's chest heaved with exertion, but he remained still, sensing the importance of the moment. The warrior stood beside him, a silent pillar of strength and guidance. Then, one by one, the elders stepped forward, nodding in acknowledgement. The children clapped softly, their eyes bright with excitement. The skeptics lowered their heads in quiet respect. Finally, the head elder spoke, his voice carrying across the desert plain. "You have shown courage, respect, and understanding. You have faced challenges that tested not only your skill but your heart. Though you are still an outsider, you have begun to walk the path of our people. Your actions today are a sign of humility, trust, and willingness to learn. You are accepted, though your journey among us has only just begun." A wave of relief washed over Cole. He had feared rejection, feared that his mistakes and inexperience would mark him forever. Instead, he had gained acceptance, not because he had performed perfectly, but because he had shown honesty, courage, and a willingness to understand. The warrior clapped him firmly on the shoulder, a gesture of pride and affirmation. "You have done well," he said. "Remember, this acceptance is not permanent. It is a beginning. Continue to act with respect and awareness, and your place here will grow." Cole nodded, a smile breaking across his face. For the first time, he felt that he truly belonged, at least in part, in this strange, beautiful world. He had been tested, challenged, and humbled, but he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than he had ever imagined. As the sun dipped lower, the mating ceremony concluded with a final chant and the lighting of the central bonfire. Its flames reached toward the twin suns, a symbol of life, unity, and the bonds that connected the tribe to each other and to the land. Cole stood beside the warrior, feeling the warmth of the fire, the presence of the tribe, and the quiet pride in his own journey. The children ran past him laughing, some daring to mimic his movements, while the elders exchanged smiles and nods. Cole realized that he was no longer merely observing, he was part of the story unfolding, a participant in the life of this frontier world. He had learned that belonging required effort, humility, and courage, and that respect was earned through understanding, not demanded through action. As night fell, the desert sky filled with stars, and Cole gazed upward. The twin moons rose over the horizon, casting soft light on the settlement. He thought of the challenges he had faced, the accidental nap, the trials, the ritual sequences, and recognized how far he had come. Each misstep had been a lesson, each moment of vulnerability a bridge of trust. The warrior stood silently beside him, a reminder that guidance and strength were always near. "Rest well tonight," the warrior said. "Tomorrow, your lessons continue. You have begun a journey that will shape you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Remember what you have learned, and act with honor." Cole nodded, feeling the weight and promise of the words. The frontier was harsh, the challenges unending, but the possibilities were greater than he had ever imagined. He had entered this world as an outsider, clumsy and uncertain, and now he stood among the tribe with a measure of respect and acceptance that he had never thought possible. For the first time in a long while, Cole felt a sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but he had proven to himself and to the tribe that he could face challenges with courage, learn from mistakes, and honor the traditions of those who had lived and thrived on this land for generations. The twin moons shone brightly overhead, casting a silver glow on the desert. Cole took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air on his skin. He knew that the frontier world was vast, full of danger and opportunity, but he also knew that he was no longer just a visitor. He had begun to belong, and in that belonging he found purpose, connection, and the promise of new adventures yet to come. As he settled down near the ceremonial fire, the warmth of the flames and the quiet presence of the warrior beside him brought comfort. Cole closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the desert, the tribe, and the crackling fire wash over him. He was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, for whatever lessons remained, and for the life he was beginning to forge among the Apache-descended people of this frontier world.